Hi guys, Billy back, and this is the second time I've made this video because I filmed the whole thing yesterday. The microphone didn't work. Epic fail on my part, just the way it is. So we're going to redo this, but hopefully this time I'll actually waffle less and actually talk about the figure more. So this is the 2020 suit Spider-Man Miles Morales figure by Hot Toys. And I was very patient in waiting for this. This was one of those figures that was on the periphery of my interests. Like, I wanted it, but I had other priorities, and so I just sat out and waited until this came down in price, and lo and behold it did, and I managed to pick this guy up for about £170 shipped, which is the exact perfect price for me. So I decided to jump on and buy him, and I'm very happy that I did. It's not without its flaws, absolutely, but the pros I think outweigh the cons. Now, it's not going to be a normal review video where I unbox it, show you all the accessories and whatnot. You know what you're getting with a Spider-Man figure. You know you're going to get a bunch of hands, you know there's a couple of extra face plates, and you know that you're going to get the same webbing set that you've got with every Spider-Man from Hot Toys for the last 5 years. Now, the actual posing of this guy is interesting. He has a lot of ratcheted joints like a lot of the new Spider-Man do, and that's because he has such a strongly restricted suit on, and that can be a slight pain. But these figures, I would argue, aren't meant to be held in dynamic poses for very long. You're just meant to use them for photography and then put them back into like a semi-reasonable pose. I wouldn't say a big dramatic one, and I wouldn't say you need to put them in a museum pose, but you do need to put them into sort of like a more relaxed pose where you're not stressing the suit. Now, the big and most exciting feature on this figure for me is the USB power. Put simply, it breaks the rules. This thing is absolutely fantastic. I have a power bank behind the setup, and I will say that just being able to put a power brick behind your figure and be able to turn it off and on whenever you want to get the full glowing effect of your figure is a godsend. Anyone who owns an Iron Man will know. Those button cell batteries in all the arms, the legs, the chest, the head are not only a pain to put on and off, but they're also a pain to put in sometimes. If you're trying to do it on their head, that can be very frustrating on an Iron Man, especially the ones with magnets, because you'll get the button cell batteries and they'll just keep getting sucked out and stuck to the magnets, and it's like trying to wrangle 50 puppies at once into a pen. You're trying to get them all in there without the magnets pulling them all back out. It's a nightmare, and it frustrates you so much because you start to wonder why you even bought the figure in the first place. This figure avoids all of that simply by having USB power. Now, it's not without its flaws because of that. One of those problems is the USB port on the back is a bit fidgety to get the micro USB plug into the back of it. Not only is it very close to the suit, but it's also a little bit on the wonk on mine. I don't know if that was with everybody's, but with these suits, I think with this new tech, they haven't really finally ironed out all those tiny little details, and the micro USB port is slightly wonky. It's not massive, but when you look at it straight on, you can tell there is something a little bit off there. Luckily, they provide a USB lead, but that thing is deliberately extended a little bit longer than a normal micro USB, simply so you could plug it into the back of the figure without it touching the suit too much. And if you try and use any other micro USB lead that I've tried, they're all a bit too thick around the end to fit in properly. So you want to keep an eye on that USB lead that they gave you with the figure. You don't want to lose that or mix it up with all the others. Put a mark on it or something, or put a sticker on it, something to identify as the one that goes with Miles Morales, because it is going to be hard. It's not impossible, but it will be hard to find another micro USB lead that will fit in snugly to the back without too much problem. But once it's plugged in and the power's on, my god, does it look good. That LED on the chest makes it all look very sort of Daft Punky, like all that digital dot matrix sort of disco stuff. And then he's got the helmet with the eyes light up, and it just really glows, and the light comes through the helmet eyes but not through the rest of the helmet. which is what you want. You don't want this thing creating a big glowing dome, because it wouldn't look right. But then you've got 3 expressive different helmets that you can use. You can use small eyes, wide eyes, and funky eyes, as I call it. And all 3 of them work really well. I've put the funky eyes on mine simply because I think it gives him a bit more personality. Now the LED chest piece is interesting because they've gone with sticking it over the top of the suit. It's not actually integrated in under the suit or anything, it's on the top, which kind of works because you're going to have LED lights shining through it, and they probably had to make a separate piece for it. But saying that, when you're looking at it up close, you can see that the top parts are not stuck down properly and they sort of stick upwards, and it makes it look again a bit like they just slapped an LED panel on the front rather than integrated it into the suit properly like it looks in the game. It's not a big problem because again, that LED light up feature kind of makes it look so good you can ignore the rest, but still it has to be said. Now I also love the fact that the Walkman is magnetized onto his hip, so you can take it on and off very easily. You're not going to damage any clips, and it gets stuck there pretty well, and you can turn it around and move it and position it how you want, and it looks great. It really does. Now we get on to my biggest gripe with this figure, the backdrop. Honestly, I have to say I'm not a huge fan of it. Yes, it's big. No, it doesn't look premium. It does look like something, I don't know, it just looks a bit cheap is the way I would describe it. Very thick card on all of them, but it's card and you can feel it, and it's just got stickers pressed over the front. There's no three-dimensional element to the screens. There's no like bezel around the edges to make it look like a real TV screen. It's literally a sticker stuck on card, and then it's all put together, and it looks a bit like a 3D jigsaw puzzle. Now it does have a few plastic parts with the leads and the cables and the little arms, and it feels like it could fall down, bits can fall off. If you damage the card, that's it, game over, you're not fixing it. Now the laptop arm on the right hand side, it keeps falling off, and if I put the PS4 holographic Spider-Man onto the screen like it's supposed to go, it falls off and it takes the laptop with it, and it breaks the arm and it damages it, and it's just not very good. I mean, the backdrop is reasonably well photographed and the detail is okay. I'm not going to say it's high detail, I'm not going to say it's HD, and it will look great in photos, but it's just when you're sitting here looking at it from any other angle than front on, it looks cheap and it looks cardboard. If you were planning on buying this because you need that diorama piece, I wouldn't buy it for that. Get it for the USB feature, get it for the quality of the actual figure itself, because the cardboard backdrop isn't the saving grace of this figure, and it doesn't need to be. For me, the 2020 suit was my favourite one in the game. It was the one I put him in. As soon as I got awarded that suit, I put him in it and I was like, yep, that's Miles Morales for me. It just looks so great, and it gives him such a different personality to the rest of the Spider-Man. His normal Miles Morales suit just looks like Spider-Man in an alternate suit to me, whereas this is different enough that it gives him his own type of character. A bit more of his own personality comes through, I think, and that's why I really love it. And the coat they give you is absolutely stunning. I really like what they've done with the printed zips. Some people might be a bit frustrated with that, but I think it works perfectly, and it's so well made and well scaled. It's just like, wow, that looks like a real 1/6 scale jacket. It is amazing. Those little red accents around the arms and just around the hem are brilliant, with those tiny little edges of gold leafing. They're clean, they're crisp, there's no bleed off, it's solid and it looks real. The stitching is nice and small, doesn't look too big. I can't fault it. The only issue I've got is those pleather arms. If that were to crack and peel over time though, I think you could peel off the outside layer of pleather and still have a nice looking suit underneath. Like, the arms would still look pretty good, and that's its only saving grace to me. Now, with USB power comes great responsibility. First and foremost, you can't be jacking this into like a big super powerful plug. It could suck up too much energy and damage the LEDs over time. So I wouldn't say this is something you want to plug in and walk away from and have it on 24 hours a day. I don't know, it just seems like constant energy going through this thing could damage the LEDs over time and burn them out. That being said, it will be great because every so often when you want to take a look at it, you can just quickly flick a switch and boom, the figure's on, it looks great, and then you can pose him around. But like I said, with USB power comes great responsibility, and that is the lead. He's always plugged in. So if you wanted to pick this guy up and just pose him around, if he's plugged into that USB lead, you're going to have to be careful because you could just be pulling the plug socket, you could be pulling the lead out of the back, you could be damaging the port. This is something that you really don't want to do because it is going to damage something. You could clothesline 6 figures off the shelf because the USB lead is running behind them all. You've just got to be careful. It's one of those things that you do have to think about because it's not something you'll be used to begin with. None of your figures, most of them don't have USB power, so you wouldn't be thinking about it being plugged in because most of your figures you'll just pick up, pose, put down. But this guy, you've got to remember that the guy is jacked into the mains because otherwise it could cause all sorts of problems. But the details in the suit just win this guy over for me. From all the textures in the actual skin tight suit to the light up features. I really like those trainers. They've got some lovely little red bits in the bottom and they're like a soft rubbery type silicone stuff like Nike Air. But when you actually touch them and squeeze them, what they do is they have enough grip. So if you're putting them down on the shelf, they can grip a glass shelf pretty easily. And that is such a warm welcome to me because it means he will not slide around on his own base like some old figures used to do. We're looking at Robocop and Terminator and things like that. No, this guy will be able to grip onto his base pretty easily and be quite sturdy. Now I'm tempted to give this guy 2 scores. 1 score would be the whole figure including the backdrop, and 1 score would be just for the figure standing on his own. And if we're just doing the figure standing on his own, that would be like an 8.5 out of 10. There's a couple of niggling problems with that LED chest panel on the front. The micro USB can be a tad fiddly a little bit, but the rest of it is just singing and I absolutely love it, and it looks exactly like it did in the video game. It jumps out the screen and gets on your shelf. But if we were to give this guy a full score with the backdrop, it looks nice but it doesn't feel nice, and for that I would give him a full score of 7.5 if I'm including the backdrop. And that's what you've got to think. If you're one of your reasons for buying this figure was because he looks great with the backdrop, you might be a tad disappointed when it turns up because that cardboard backdrop, it's niggly, it's fiddly, it's difficult. Things slot in but then they also slide out very easily because it's all card. The bottom of it is starting to fray already just by me putting it on the shelf, and it makes it very difficult, and the balance isn't perfectly there and it gets lopsided very quickly. Those back bits, the hinges that try and keep it balanced, can move and shift very easily. And it's sad that that holographic PS4 Spider-Man can sit on that laptop, but then the laptop can fall off very easily and you could damage something. So for me, it's just not worth it. But that's it guys, that's my review of the Spider-Man Miles Morales 2020 suit. It's my favourite suit from the game. I absolutely love it. I love what they've done with the USB. I'd gladly turn it on in the display when I'm in the room to have a look at it. It's very easy to do and it really does make it impressive. Sad thing is that without the USB power you lose a lot of the wow factor and you lose the detail from the chest piece and the eyes, which means if you are going to get this guy, you will want to jack this guy in because you do not want to have this with the lights off on the shelf because it does look a little dull. Okay guys, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you do me a favour now. If you can get out of my cave, I'm going to take this backdrop down, put it all away. It's just going to get damaged otherwise, and I'm going to put Spider-Man Miles Morales next to all my other PS4 Spider-Man in the collection. Thanks a lot guys. Bye bye.